All right, so crypto for noobs, we're going to be talking about Uniswap. And before we get talking about Uniswap itself, let's just do a little recap of what, a smart contract is. So we went over this before in another video, but a smart contract is just an address on the blockchain, and it can have logic, which is basically like little programs that you can call in the smart contract at that address. And it's got storage, so it can store stuff across transactions and time. And so logic, you can think of like a function. Let's say I want to transfer tokens. I can call that and transfer tokens to somebody else. The storage side is really like tracking my balance inside the smart contract for how many tokens I have. So that's how I think about it. These smart contracts can hold ETH inside of them, and they can hold other assets like ERC20 tokens. And one of the big powerful things is that one smart contract can call logic functions in another smart contract. So that's the recap here of what a smart contract is. Now, let's get into Uniswap here. So what is it? Back in the day, we had all of these centralized exchanges, Mt. Gox, we've got Coinbase, and we've got Binance, right? And so the interesting thing is all of these really old exchanges were getting hacked, and the worst one was Mt. Gox here. Coinbase and Binance are still good, but Mt. Gox actually went out of business because they got hacked and lost so much Bitcoin, right? And so, the holy grail, if you would, of the crypto trading thoughts around this stuff was, well, what if you could have a non-custodial smart contract living on the blockchain that was actually the exchange where people could buy and sell tokens with each other? And so that's what many people have worked on. There's even like some early prototypes of different DEXs, they're called, so decentralized exchanges. And they launched some of these things, but people tried to build them exactly like centralized exchanges on the blockchain. And so the problem is blockchains are slow, and if you try to build an order book of people who want to buy and sell and then send transactions in to execute those trades, things are super slow. So you can imagine like 10 people sending in a trade to try and buy somebody else's Bitcoin at the same time, and only one of those would succeed and all the other ones would fail. So the user experience around this was pretty terrible. And so Uniswap is like a newer version of this idea that comes at it a different angle. And so if you go look at the Uniswap documentation, you'll see this diagram here, and this is pretty complex, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on here. And the goal of this video is that hopefully by the end of it, you'll be able to understand everything that this diagram is saying here, right? And so we're going to jump into this, but, start off with, what you can see here is in the middle is really the main thing. It's a Uniswap pool, and there's a couple different tokens there. There's two tokens, and token A and token B. And so the idea is, what if you could just have a pool of tokens, of two different tokens, and you send one type of token in, and you get the other type of token out? And, this is all inside of a smart contract. There's no order book with people putting buys and sells in. It just automatically happens. And this concept is called a automated market maker, or an AMM. And so you'll hear that term a lot to reference these pools of liquidity that people can trade against without having to go through a big buy and sell routine and find a matching order on the other side of an order book. So let's jump into it. And this is your math alert. We're going to talk about some middle school algebra here. And so Uniswap itself is called a constant product AMM, so constant product automated market maker. And it uses this simple algorithm here to determine if you want to trade one asset for another, what the price is. And so this X times Y equals K. X is the amount of token A, and Y is the amount of token B, and K is a constant. And so just remember, K needs to stay constant across any transactions that happen with this AMM. And so we can sort of think about it as, let's say we've got this smart contract here and it's got wrapped Bitcoin and USDC in it. And these are two ERC20 tokens, and we want to be able to trade between them. And so the idea is you go to this smart contract that has these two tokens inside of it. You send in USDC and you get out wrapped Bitcoin. Or you send in wrapped Bitcoin and you get out USDC. And so this is like a very simple sort of idea. It uses some math to determine, if you put one token in, how many other tokens you get out. And that's all there is to it. So let's do an example here. Let's say we've got an AMM running in Uniswap that's got 100 wrapped Bitcoin in it, and it's got 1,000 USDC tokens in it. And we're going to put it in this liquidity pool in an AMM, and we're going to use this constant product formula. And so what does that mean? So if we take the amount of token A times the amount of token B, we should get some constant value. So we've got 100 wrapped Bitcoins, so we're going to multiply that by 1,000 1,000 USDC, and we're going to get 100,000. So this 100,000 is the K value. It's just the constant. And so this determines the ratio that you can buy and sell these assets. So let's say I want to put 1 USDC in and I want to get out wrapped Bitcoin. So how much wrapped Bitcoin would I get out if I did that? And so we have to do a little bit of math here. So we know we're going to change the amount of USDC from 1,000 to 1,001, and we know the constant value needs to stay the same at 100,000. And so we need to just do some solving here for X to figure out what is the amount of wrapped Bitcoin that's going to be inside the AMM after this trade happens. And so we just we divide both sides of the equation by 1,001 to get X on the left there on that second line. And then we just divide 100,000 by 1,001, and that gives us 99.9. So what does this mean? This means if I put one USDC into the AMM, I'm going to get out 0.1 wrapped Bitcoin. So that is the whole idea how this stuff works. And so it's super simple. You can put any amount of USDC into this thing, and it's going to calculate how much wrapped Bitcoin you're going to get out. And you can go vice versa as well. And so that's pretty cool. And so if we did this trade right here, we would see we'd get if we put in 1 USDC, you'd get 0.1 BTC out. So therefore, our price is 0.1 BTC per USDC. So that's simple. Let's do another example here. Let's go back and let's reset the AMM back to 100 and 1,000. And remember, we're going to set this constant again before the trade happens. And let's say I want to put 1,000 USDC into this thing. So I'm essentially going to be doubling the amount of USDC that's inside this AMM. And so we just do the same, algebra here. So we don't know the amount of X, which is the amount of wrapped Bitcoin that's going to be in the contract after the trade happens. But we know the amount of USDC that's going to be in it, and we know the constant. And so we just subtract both sides by 2,000, and we're going to X is 50, which means after this trade happens where I put 1,000 USDC in, there's only going to be 50 left in the AMM of wrapped Bitcoin. Right? So I put 1,000 USDC in, and I get 50 wrapped Bitcoin out. Now this is pretty intuitive, right? Because basically we're doubling the amount of USDC, but we're cutting in half the amount of wrapped Bitcoin. So that makes sense, right? But then let's look at the price here. So this trade is 50 BTC per 2,000 USDC, which is 0.025 BTC per USDC. So remember, the last one was 0.1 BTC USDC. So the last one where we put just a little bit of USDC in, the price was pretty good. But if we put a lot of USDC in, we get a worse price. And so this concept is called slippage, right? You'll hear this a lot when people are talking about trading on AMMs, and the price you get is essentially the bigger the trade you want to do, the worse your price is going to be. And sort of the other piece of the equation there is it's all relative to the amount of value that's locked in the AMM. So let's think about this a little bit. If we did just 1 USDC in this scenario, we got a better price. Now, what if there was 100 million USDC in here, and we just wanted to do 1,000 USDC. So in that scenario, we'd get a pretty decent price, right? Because it's really the size of the trade you want to do versus the amount of value that's locked into the AMM. And so this is the concept of liquidity. So the higher the liquidity, the better the price you're going to get. And so this is sort of an interesting sort of concept here, is like Uniswap itself, in order to be a good trading venue, it needs to have a lot of value locked inside these AMM smart contracts in order to give everybody good prices so that trading happens. So, what can we do there? And so we want this value in here to go up, right? We want a lot of wrapped Bitcoin. We want a lot of USDC in here so that the trades are good. There's a lot of trades happen. So there's a few things we can do. And the main two are really fees and rewards. So Uniswap itself incentivizes people to lock up funds inside the AMM by giving a 0.3% fee to the people who put liquidity into these things. And so you'll hear the term liquidity provider, or LP, and that references the people who deposit funds into these AMMs. And so when I go to deposit funds into this AMM, I have to put the equal amount of wrapped Bitcoin and the equal amount of USDC based on the current price, let's say USD value of both. And anytime somebody trades between the two, I'm going to get a 0.3% fee of that. On the other piece I mentioned was rewards, and that's really like the yield farming stuff you'll hear about, but we're not going to get into that in this discussion here. But just know, like if let's say I'm a Bitcoin whale, or a wrapped Bitcoin whale, and I'm holding millions of dollars of wrapped Bitcoin because I think it's going to go up in the next 10 years. Well, I could deposit my wrapped Bitcoin into Uniswap and actually generate trading fees on that by providing liquidity to other people that want to buy and sell wrapped Bitcoin. So this is a pretty big deal in the cryptocurrency space, because you can take an asset that was otherwise just sitting dormant in your account and you can put it to work and generate fees. And so this is why these Uniswap and a bunch of these other protocols have been getting a lot of traction, because people are actually using the funds now instead of just holding on to them. So it's sort of like the next sort of step in the evolution of the cryptocurrency space. So, that's really cool if we got wrapped Bitcoin and USDC. But what if we want to buy, or we want to trade our wrapped Bitcoin for wrapped ETH? And so, a Uniswap pool or Uniswap AMM can only have 2 tokens in it. And so this is sort of an interesting concept as well, is that I can take my wrapped Bitcoin, I can pass it to the Uniswap router, and I can say, I want to get wrapped ETH out for this wrapped Bitcoin. And the Uniswap router will actually chain these things together. And so it'll take the wrapped Bitcoin, it'll buy and trade it for USDC, and then it can go find USDC to wrapped ETH and actually trade that for that and get me back the wrapped ETH that I want. And so this allows us to trade basically any asset for any other asset. And so that's pretty powerful here. And, the router logic can jump through a whole bunch of other, AMMs. Like maybe it makes sense to go hop through 3 different AMMs, because, remember the slippage and the liquidity is really how you get the best price. So it can actually figure out the best route to route these trades to get, the best conversion from any asset to any other asset. And so this is another pretty powerful thing here that, you should know about how this works under the covers. And so, that's basically all you need to know about initially, with this Uniswap AMM here. And so going back to this diagram, so in the beginning, this diagram was pretty complicated to sort of like just look at and understand what's going on. But, you can see in the middle, you got the Uniswap pool, and it's got these reserves of 2 different types of tokens. There's 2 different amounts of the tokens, right? So depending on the value of each one, they need to always be the same sort of, let's say USD value. So, one token might be 10 times more worth more than another token. In that case, you'd have 100 of one and 10 of another. So here. Now, on the left here, remember we want liquidity providers to come in and put their deposit their funds into here, and so they have to take the equivalent ratio of these two tokens and deposit it into the pool. And when they do that, they actually get back out these other things that are called LP shares, which are just more tokens. So you can take these tokens and you can redeem them later for your share of the pool. Remember, you're incentivized to put funds into these AMMs because you'll generate trading fees. And, it should be mentioned that there's been days where there's billions of dollars transacted in Uniswap. So, there's millions of dollars per day being generated in fees towards these things. On the right side, once that happens and there's liquidity in these pools, anybody in the entire internet can come and trade one token for another and swap, token A for token B. And all they do is they send in one token, it subtracts the fee out to give to the LPs, and then it sends out the rest of the token B to do the trade. There's no order book, so there's nobody saying, I want to sell 100, give me at least 10 to 1 price here. There's nothing like that. There's just this sort of passive smart contract living on the blockchain with holding these assets, and anybody can come and buy and sell either asset. You can chain them together. You can do all sorts of stuff. So that is basically it. So hopefully, this diagram here isn't too crazy now. You sort of understand what's going on. But at the very base level, this allows a smart contract itself to trade tokens back and forth, and there's no sort of custodial risk of like a big centralized exchange getting hacked and all the funds taken out. There is technical risk, so maybe there's a bug in the smart contract, but that sort of risk is a little bit easier to quantify than sort of understanding how secure somebody's doing their asset holdings in an exchange or something like that. So that's it. That's Uniswap. Let me know if you have any feedback or if you think anything else is missing or confusing, or you want me to do any other sort of topics here. Thanks.